So, welcome. This is my first time doing a live stream, my first time doing anything like this. So, I assume you have access to the chat. If you could just type in that you're hearing me, that this is coming through, that would be really, really helpful. Hmm. So I'm not seeing anything typed. Oh, Polly, thank you. I appreciate that. That makes me feel much better. And it's really sweet to know that you're there. So I appreciate that. So it's really sweet that those of you who are here want to do this practice together. So we are going to sit for about 25 minutes. I'll do a light guidance. Then I have a sharing. And then if anyone wants to join in a Zoom room afterwards, to have some discussion time afterwards, that would be wonderful. So I am going to put in the chat while I have it up the link to the Zoom room. Uh, and that will be at the end of this part. So to begin, let's sit. So I invite you to start with just taking a couple of nice deep in and out breaths. Really check in with what's here right now for you. Start with the room wherever you are. If you even want to open your eyes and kind of look around the room so that you know where you are right now. We spend so much time lost in that virtual headspace. Let yourself see yourself here. Take the time to hear whatever sounds are here for you. Notice as you listen, there's nothing you need to do to make sound come to you. Simply an opening to whatever is already here. And then bringing that same listening to inside. What's the weather like right now inside for you? If you want, maybe starting with the thinking mind. Just kind of notice whatever tug or pull or direction or charge, or maybe just simple thoughts are in the mind at this moment. We're not trying to fix or change that. There's a way we can step back and just see the thoughts in the mind just as they are. Maybe as if your best friend had things going on and you were offering a listening space where you were witnessing with a lot of compassionate care and wisdom what your friend was sharing, bringing that kind of attention to your own mental space, hearing the movement of thoughts in the mind. Notice then how those thoughts are related to emotions in the body. This moment, kind of emotions in the body. Where in the body do you feel this? Whatever it is you're feeling. Emotions. Letting the lens broaden out to whatever's present in the body for you. Where is there tension in the body? What muscles might be tight or clenched? Where is there looseness or relaxedness? We tend to be very good at honing in on the problems. Open the lens up, find one place in the body. It's either neutral or pleasant. See what it's like to use those places in the body. Neutral, pleasant. It's a resting place, refuge, anchor. Breathe in and out right there. And then, if you like, letting the awareness in its own time kind of gravitate towards the breath itself. Use that natural rhythm of life as refuge or whatever anchor makes the most sense for you. A place to let the mind rest with openness, regrounding, recentering as often as you need. From the poet Rilke, if we surrendered to the earth's intelligence, we could rise up rooted like trees. Instead, we entangle ourselves in knots of our own making and struggle lonely and confused. So, like children, we begin again to fall patiently to trust our heaviness. Even a bird has to do that before he can fly. In what way can you bring awareness to the Earth's intelligence manifested in your own body, mind, and heart? How does resting in the anchor, such as the breath, help you root strong like a tree, the surrendering that allows us to fly? Okay, so nice to sit with you all. Um, I have a sharing, and I have to say before I jump into this, this really is my first experience with live streaming. And I've done a lot of Zoom things as a participant, not as a leader, but I immediately feeling like Zoom allows a different kind of connection that live stream doesn't. So, might rethink the platform and would love your thoughts and feedback when we get to that place. So, just going to toss that out there. So, obviously, what I'm going to share about is distress tolerance, how to help support ourselves managing, meeting the current situation. Um, and the first thing I want to say about it is, and my guess is I can't quite tell who I'm talking to, but I've got some guesses from who's on the chat, so that y'all probably all heard this many times. But there is the what is happening, and then there's how we're dealing with it. And those are actually two separate things, and we often miss that fact that they are two separate things. Learning how to tease that apart makes a huge difference. Uh, and the way that we start to learn to tease it apart is by being able to see our reactions, bringing some wise, kind, compassionate wisdom to the fact of our reactivity, and then learning how to choose wise responses, compassionate responses in light of it makes a huge difference. Um, Not just for us, but also for everyone around us. My daughter today gave me a very clear, perfect example of why we do this work, not just for ourselves, but we do it for our community, we do it for everyone around us. So she's away at an arts program, and clearly the whole theme has been, does it shut down? Does it keep going? What to do in light of what's happening. And in her class, it's supposed to be a 7-week program. They only have gotten a week into it, and actually are shutting down tomorrow. Um, but there was a woman in her particular class who was in very high panic over it. Very, 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 very high panic over it. And having a hard time kind of navigating her own panic. So, yesterday, when they gave the option for people to choose to leave or to try to stay, their hope was that they would be able to stay out. That woman opted for the refund and left immediately. So, for my daughter, her naming the sudden change in the atmosphere. Um, the risk hadn't changed, the situation hadn't changed. Everyone was already doing all of the same precautions, already doing everything that they could. But there was this dramatic reduction in tension level that made it so much easier for everyone else to deal with. So it's really helpful to notice what kind of impact our getting lost in our anxiety has for both ourselves and each other, and what other possibilities there are for living with the exact same situation in another more grounded way. So this is basic distress tolerance. Nothing new here, but sometimes we need those reminders of how to better support ourselves and therefore bring that support to those around us. So, the first thing I want to say about basic distress tolerance is that the anxiety, the fear, the worry, the flashes of panic, the whole 9 yards, all of those totally normal, all totally understandable, valid. It just makes sense that this is what that this situation is triggering for our amygdalas. So that most common mistake with mindfulness again and again and again is that I think if I'm being mindful, then I won't have this kind of reaction, or I can make this reaction go away, or I'm not good if I'm still having this kind of reaction. So the first thing is just back to that basic friendliness that has room for whatever it is that's happening for us. Um, so we start with naming what's here, learning to notice that deep fundamental difference between getting caught up in the fear and being able to name, fear is present. This is what's going on for me right now. And then if I can name it, if I can like see that it's in the room, then I have the space to compassionately start to choose how to react with it, how to work with it. A couple of weeks ago, I named a little story that happened to me with a friend that I see very rarely. Had a meal with her 3 or 4 years ago when she, last time I saw her, just really caught in a anger trap. And it was a really hard dinner. I mean, there was just so much anger at virtually everyone around her. Saw her again a couple of weeks ago, and fundamentally different meeting. She even texted me before we got together saying, I have to tell you, I have a lot of anger right now. So, I was like, okay. But I appreciated that she was naming it. And then when I was with her, just radically different conversation when she was naming, this is what I'm working with, not caught up. And this is what's happening about everyone else in the world around me. So we learn to name, validate whatever the emotion is, name it to tame it. Remembering that at the root, this is a befriending practice, needs to be said over and over and over. Start with some way of finding some place of finding a way that is okay for whatever to be coming up that is coming up. If we can do that, then we can start to choose to care for what's here with that same wise, tender grace that a parent can bring to a hurting child. We do that for ourselves. So the next thing is making sure we're taking care of the basics, um, eating well, healthy food as best as possible, exercising, getting sleep as much as possible in the right way, connecting with others. Are you reaching out to friends and family in a way that you're getting support needs? Is this an appropriate time to think about whether meeting with a therapist would be useful? So, those basics really, really do matter for our body, heart, mind well being. But it's not just eat healthy foods or exercise. It's do them with mindful attention. Do them with the sense of actively knowing I'm taking care of myself. So, for example, if I'm going on a walk to get my exercise, how do I practice as much as possible actually being present on the walk? That I'm seeing the flowers that are blossoming. I'm noticing the trees, the sky, the world around me, actually connecting to it. Or if my mind is so caught up in something and I'm actually not connecting, I'm out on the walk and I'm feeling this tug of war into the the rabbit hole of the mind pulling me back again and again and again, then I don't try to force myself into some sort of I'm being mindful by seeing that flower. That's not mindfulness. Then I'm walking, I'm noticing my feet on the ground, connecting with that, and using that anchor to check in with what it feels like in the body and the mind to be caught up in this way. How is this manifesting in the body? How do I breathe in and out with whatever it is that is capturing my attention so much that it's hard for me to actually be present on the walk? Then whatever is arising is useful. If what is arising is deep connection around me, beautiful. If what is arising is a deep need for connection to what's happening inside of me, beautiful. It is all useful time. And we're just learning to be with it wherever it needs to be. So the next thing I want to name are just those root mindfulness practices, ways of supporting ourselves, keeping ourselves healthy, with informal practices that we use repeatedly throughout our day. These are things you've heard me say before. Stop practice. We can just do it right now. We stop. We take a breath. Breathe in. Breathe out. Observe with kindness. Like take a moment right now and pause. What's present in this moment for you? Is it a busy, active mind? Is it some settling calm? Is it body sensation? Is it sound? What are you awake to in this moment? And allowing some kindness and seeing it. And then proceed. We go on. 478 breathing. This is one that people tend to either really like or really not like. We can just try a 478 breathing. Take a breath in, release it out. Breathe in for a count of four. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Release 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. One cycle on your own. If you are a visual thinker, you might like square breathing more. We breathe up for a count of four, hold for a count of seven, release, hold for a count of four, release for a count of four, come hold for a count of four. So you actually just visualize yourself going around the square. Five senses practice. Try that one out right now. Five things around you that you can see. Look around your room and pick five particular things. Four things that you can hear. Three things that you can feel. Two things that you can smell. One thing that you can taste. And then another practice that I love and I use often, which we're not going to practice, I'm just going to name it. Any of the gratitude practices. ABC gratitudes is one that I really, really like. My modification from Brother David Stendal Rost, who came up with this, is to see as much as possible if I can do the ABCs with something that's present for me right here. So I'm actually using it as a come to the present moment in this space and time around me as a grounding practice. So, like A, grateful for the air. B, the breath that's going in and out. C, the possibility of calm that this practice allows for me. And you can go on. And the last thing I want to share around practices are what I kind of call the big view practices. Those that connect us to what we value the most, what gives us that sense of meaning and purpose in our life. Um, I have a teacher that I love, a woman by the name of Amanda Smith. She is a DBT teacher from Waco, or DBT therapist from Waco, Texas, who will put on webinars and things every now and then. And I love joining in her stuff. And I got to say, I wasn't too surprised when Saturday, before anyone else had live stream offerings up and going, that I saw. Amanda was right there with a 1 hour webinar on distress tolerance. And she's got it recorded. Amanda Smith, DBT, Waco, Texas. I can't remember what her website is, but if you put that much in, you'd come up with it if you want her 1 hour webinar. And so some of her sharings that are kind of like reframing the mind in a helpful big picture sort of way. Two basic questions. What can I control? What can't I control? Uh, Absolutely related to the serenity prayer, which sometimes people talk about as kind of, oh yeah, that. But when we come back to its root meaning, it's very powerful. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. The last thing she drew from was from the Stoics, who actually were a school of thought back in the ancient Greek world, who have a lot of specific practices that are very much in alignment with mindfulness and kind of bringing wise mind to any given moment. Um, I like the word of warning, or not warning, but wisdom, I would say. The words of wisdom she gives before this list, which is you only practice these when they're available to you. You don't need to push to reach towards these. If what you need are the more basic distress tolerance, like shifting the channel, watching Glee, taking that walk, doing those things that root the nervous system first. You stay there as long as you need to. And then when these kind of broader ways of looking at things are useful, you begin step by step to step into them. So her short list from the Stoics: be kind and generous towards others. It's a beautiful way of stepping out of our amygdala tunnel vision to intentionally open up our field of care, to how we can take care of others. It feels better when we have a larger field of care as opposed to the small view of the amygdala tunnel vision. I would add to her: be kind and generous towards others. Be kind and generous to yourself as well. Next one: refuse to fight or complain. My addition: that doesn't mean don't express yourself. Express yourself with mindful self care, mindfulness to whoever you're expressing yourself to. Find that way of words expressing as healing space as opposed to adding fuel to fights. Next one: embrace forgiveness, both for ourselves and others. Make wise decisions. Notice the difference between panic mind and care mind. And the last one, accept suffering as a part of life. This one is the root of much wisdom if we are willing to look at it. Steps us away from that American ideal of our root happiness will only come once I achieve such and such safe plateau of success, which is a really mythical place. Instead, this says there's a natural part of life that has suffering to it. These bodies experience pain. We experience illness. We experience death. Um, and learning to accept this as a natural part of a full life, maybe not the life we anticipated, we expected, we assumed, but a life that is here. It's actually a door to a different kind of freedom, a different kind of opening. I've met people make dramatic transformations in their life right through the heart of learning to be with the suffering that's present in their lives. Which brings me to two poems to conclude with. One I've already shared, the Rilke poem. If we surrendered to Earth's intelligence, we could rise up rooted like trees. Instead, we entangle ourselves in knots of our own making and struggle, lonely and confused. So, like children, we begin again to fall patiently, to trust our heaviness. Even a bird has to do that before it can fly. That's the wise surrendering to life as it is that allows us to learn to fly. The last thing I'm going to share is the final two verses of something called Desiderata. I know there's some controversy about where this originated from, but there's a lot of beauty in it. And it contains a leap that asks us to see the universe and our very small part in that through a much larger lens than our personal lives or even this current era on our planet. Um, so, the last two verses: You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace with God, whatever you conceive Him to be, with whatever your labors and aspirations. In the noisy confusion of life, keep peace with your soul, with all of its sham, drudgery, and broken dreams. It is still a beautiful world. Be careful, strive to be happy. So, what kind of universal view might be available to you that gives a grounding perspective on the challenge of a given moment? And only go there if that's helpful. Maybe you just need to take 3 breaths. So, let's sit for just a minute. Okay, now I'm going to actually paste that link one more time. And we will continue our experiment of technology for anyone who wants to join me. in the Zoom room. If someone can just write a chat in that the link came through, because I'm a little not not quite trusting of technology yet. Okay, I don't see anyone typing, so I'm just gonna trust. And if you Oh, thank you, Ellen. I appreciate that. That makes me happy. If anyone wants to meet me over there, would love to see you and just give me just like a minute or two to figure out how to move from one to the other. And for those of you who are complete as is, just know that it was lovely sharing this time in this space with you and sending you all good wishes. Thank you.